Uh, Hello and welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute here. And, as we're just waiting for a few more people. Hello and welcome, everyone. Excuse me for that. Sorry about the little technical glitch there. We're also live streaming on YouTube, so there was a little feedback. But yeah, we're about to get started. We're going to wait just another minute or so for some others to come join us. But before we do, I just want to say hello to some of the folks that are putting their voices into the chat box. Looks like we've got people from so many areas of the world. Gosh. So welcome Nazanin from Iran. And welcome Mary from British Columbia. And let's see, Claire is here from Ontario. Welcome. Welcome Haya, also in Canada there. Welcome Andrea from Alberta. We got a lot of Canadians here. Welcome. Welcome Dawn from Connecticut. Yeah. Welcome Chanel from Colorado. And Amy is here from Northampton, Massachusetts. Let's see, Sering is here from Latka. And Magdalena is here from China. Welcome. So lovely to see everybody here today. Yeah. Nadine is here from New Zealand, and Martha is here from Ontario. Welcome. Good to see everyone here. Yeah. So just a few more seconds and then we'll get started. All right. I do ask if everyone can please put themselves on mute, since we are doing a silent retreat. I'm going to mute everyone right now, but if you can also stay muted. So hello, friends from all over the world. Welcome to Empowering Voices. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Laila Narsi, and I'm a psychotherapist in private practice in Sugar Land, Texas, specializing in trauma. But I'm also so honored and proud to be a certified mindful self-compassion teacher. I've been a teacher, I think, since the first year the teacher training came out. So it's been such a wonderful journey, and I'm so delighted to be working with Kristin Neff since then. Currently with the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion, I'm also one of the coordinators for the Circles of Practice public offering, as well as the lead for the BIPOC affinity sessions. And I'm on the committee for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and justice. It's been a lifelong passion of mine to really help bring voice, empowerment, healing for women around the world. And so that passion really brought me towards hosting this annual retreat. So this is our third year. Also, I want to say happy International Women's Day to everyone. International Women's Day started March 1911, and it is just so strong throughout the world. So welcome to everybody. Welcome to all of those that self-identify as women. This is a safe refuge, an opportunity to come together in a global community to practice, feel connected, and empowered. So without any further ado, I really want to get started on introducing our very first speaker. So we're going to have 3 sessions. The first speaker is MSc co-developer Dr. Kristin Neff. She's going to be followed by certified MSc teacher and diversity, equanimity, inclusion, and belonging director, Dr. Sydney Spears. And then at the end, we will have certified MSc teacher Angelike Dexter. Each session will be 45 to 50 minutes long. And once again, I do ask if you can stay in silence, but feel free to use the chat box at the end of each session. So Dr. Kristin Neff is currently an associate professor of educational psychology at the University of Houston and Austin. She's a pioneer in the field of self-compassion research. She's conducted the first empirical studies on self-compassion nearly 20 years ago. She's been recognized as one of the most influential researchers in psychology worldwide. So we are truly honored to have her here today. She's the author of the best-selling book, Self-Compassion, along with her colleague, Chris Germer. She's developed the Mindful Self-Compassion program taught internationally, and also co-wrote the Mindful Self-Compassion workbook. Dr. Neff's newest book is Fierce Self-Compassion: How Women Can Harness Kindness to Speak Up, Claim Their Power, and Thrive. So Kristin, I'm going to pass the mic off to you.
Great. Thanks, Laila. Did you find me? Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I'm seeing you, so I just want to make sure that I'm spotlighted.
Yeah.
You are okay. Good. All right. So it's okay. I'll stare at your lovely face. It's beautiful. By the way, thank you, Laila. I mean, you've just been such a guiding light for the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion, and I've worked with you many, many times, and I'm so appreciative of you organizing this retreat as well. Yeah, and so as you may have guessed from my latest book, I've been really interested in issues of gender, the last few years, and how gender role socialization, how much it limits us, how it tells us that people who are identified as male can be fierce, but they can't be tender, they can't hold their tender, soft emotions, which is why by the way, and I'm going to say, when I say the word men and women, I'm not talking about biological sex. I'm not talking about gender identity, whether you're non-binary or you're cisgendered, gender role socialization. So people raised as men, they don't come to self-compassion workshops nearly as often because they aren't allowed by society to access the tender emotions, which are so healing in a practice like self-compassion. And on the other hand, people raised as women are not allowed to get angry or access their fierce emotions, which is what allows them to succeed in the world and speak up and fight for justice. And luckily it's starting to change. But because gender is it's the ocean we swim in, we don't even really sometimes realize how society is constantly trying to shape us through these categories of what a woman is supposed to be like, or what a man is supposed to be like. I really see self-compassion as a practice of radical authenticity, so that every human being has the opportunity to access every side of themselves in a healthy way and to express it in their own unique way. And so when Laila asked me what practice I wanted to lead for this retreat, thing that came to mind for me this year is something called a compassionate body scan. So especially as women, we have such, again, people raised as women, such complicated relationships with our bodies. We're valued for our bodies, the way they look. We identify with our bodies the way we look. I'm sure many of you on this call, post-menopause, your things start to change, and you've got to deal with that, in a way that's it runs very deep for women. This conflation between our bodies how we look, and our value. And there's so much suffering around this. When really what our body is, if you really want to break down what our body is, it's not an object. It's not something that's supposed to look good or not look good. This is the vehicle through which we experience life and love. You know, this is the portal to life. The body is so much more than we normally give it appreciation for. So I'm going to be leading a practice called the compassionate body scan. And the basic, it's like some of you, I'm sure many of you have done the meditation called the body scan, which is where systematically we're going to go through the body with our awareness, starting at our feet, going all the way up to our head, where we kind of get in touch with certain bodily sensations. And so what we're going to do this time is we're going to add in an element of care. And so when we get to a certain body part and there's any sort of suffering associated with this body part, maybe it's some physical pain, then we give that compassion, we give it warmth, we give it tenderness. Maybe it's other types of pain. Maybe we judge that body part. We don't like the way it looks, or maybe, you know, many of us have had some maybe trauma associated with our body. So when we hit suffering, we're going to give ourselves compassion. I'll be guiding you through this. By the way, if you hit suffering and you actually tap into a pool of pain associated with trauma, which sometimes happen, that's the point where I'll continue to lead the meditation, but that's your invitation. If you need to stop and step out, open your eyes, ground your feet in the floor. Sometimes it can be activating to go through the body. So just be aware and take care of yourself during this practice. Maybe the most self-compassionate thing you can do during this practice is to say, whoa, that's too much. I need to actually have a cup of tea. So really take care of yourself. But we aren't just going to focus on the suffering in the body, of which there's a lot. We're also going to be focusing on the joy of the body and appreciating our bodies as these givers of life. So as we go through the body, if there's no pain there, if it's either neutral, yay, no pain, or maybe there's actually a good, pleasant sensation, or maybe a thought of like, wow, my legs, they allow me to run and dance, then we're going to give it appreciation. So we're going to kind of go, we'll be doing this dance between compassion when pain is present and appreciation when no pain is present. So when we're kind of contented, or maybe even some joy when we actually feel the joy of the body. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to be doing. If you are in a place where you can hear me, I'd really recommend that you lay down. If you have a place where you can lay down on the floor, if it's clean enough, or the sofa, please feel free to do that. It's really nice to lay down when you do a body scan, but you can also do this just sitting in your chair. Right? If you are sitting in your chair, please make sure that you're comfortable, that you're sitting in a very comfortable position. So I'll give you a moment to get situated. And before I start, Laila, is my volume okay? Just give me a thumbs up if it is okay, because I can turn it up if need be. Is that okay?
Yes, it's great. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so closing your eyes. Just taking a moment to come back to presence. So reminding yourself that you are right here, right now. And also as a reminder that we are not only cultivating, awareness, but we're really opening our hearts to compassionate awareness. So I'd invite you to take some gesture, like putting your hands on your heart or your face, or someplace on your body. Just allow yourself to feel the warmth of your hands. Feel your own support. Feel the care streaming from your hands into your body. And then you can place your hands back down at your sides. And perhaps just taking a few breaths, center ourselves. And now I would like you to put your awareness or notice the sensations in your feet. Right? So just really feeling the sensations in your feet. You may notice warmth or cold, maybe tingling. Pulsing. You also may notice some discomfort in your feet. They hold us up all day, right? And if you notice any discomfort in your feet or holding stress there, give your feet some compassion, right? In other words, just allow yourself to be moved by the soreness there. You might even say mentally a little message like, I'm so sorry you're hurting, feet. You also may notice that your feet are either not hurting, or you may remember the amazing gift that your feet are. They allow you to balance, to walk. Sometimes to walk, some of us have disabilities where that's not possible. Right. And so again, if any no feelings of discomfort or suffering come up, giving yourself compassion for that. And or, it doesn't have to be either or, it can be both. Also some appreciation for the gift of our feet. And again, just feeling the feet in this ocean of compassion and appreciation. And now moving your awareness up to your calves and your shins, so the lower half of your legs, including your knees and your ankles. So this whole area from your knees down to your ankles. Just feeling the sensations. Any discomfort, holding with compassion. Any ease or thoughts of appreciation for your lower legs. Again, these muscles allow us to do so much. Holding pain with love. But also appreciation is a form of love. And if it gets too much for you to switch between compassion and appreciation, you can just hold it all with love. When love meets sorrow, it manifests as compassion. When love meets joy, it manifests as appreciation. Now moving your awareness up to your upper part of your legs, so your thighs, big thigh muscles, whole area from your knees to the bottom of your torso. All right, and once we get to the thighs, sometimes some judgments come up. And if that's the case, really just holding that with love and compassion. And also love for these incredibly strong muscles. And like the trunks of a tree, they hold us up. As we do this body scan, also remember if you notice any pleasant sensations, to allow yourself to really savor those. And now moving your awareness to your pelvic floor. Right, there's so much in this area, so much. Our reproductive organs. Allowing love to infuse your awareness. Again, sometimes we hold trauma here, and if that's the case, please take care of yourself. Feel free to disengage if it comes up for you. Also, a lot of joy here. And just letting your loving awareness really take the time to linger with this part of your body. And then moving up to the back, let's start with the back first, right? So that's our buttocks. It's probably laying on the floor, sitting on the chair, and our lower back. Again, big muscles here. A source of both pain and joy. Just allow yourself to open to it all. Noticing all the energy, movement in your body. And then moving to the upper back, broad of your back. And your back and your shoulders. A lot of tension and stress is held in our back, and if you encounter any of that, letting the compassion flow. And the appreciation for the strengths our backs give us. So as I'm leading this, because I'm talking about concepts, there may be the temptation to do this in your head, but see if you can be embodied as we go through this, right? So really just feeling your back, not thinking about it, feeling it, letting your awareness be infused with love. Now let's move to the front of the torso, starting with our stomach area, right? The lower half of our torso. Again, so much going on here. It's where we digest food. This is how we live. It's a source of life. There's our digestive system, there's our uterus. So much stored here. Often a lot of judgments. And if you like, if you want, you can even put your hands on your stomach as we're at this part of the body. It's easy to touch with our hands. You may feel comfortable to really just put your hands on your stomach. And through your hands, let flow the compassion, acceptance, and also appreciation, the wonder. If you've had a child, you may have grown life here. Remembering if you bump into any real distress, you become overwhelmed, feel free just to disengage, come back when you're ready. Now moving up to the upper half of the front of our torso, the chest and the heart and the lungs. So once again, you may want to put your hands over the center of your chest. You can actually feel your hands rising and falling as your lungs breathe. Again, the miracle of breathing. And maybe you can even feel your heart beating under your hands. the heart which physically gives us life. It's also the emotional center of love. It's also a lot of pain. See if you can just allow yourself to be with yourself with courage, with compassion, with appreciation. Now we're going to move to our arms. So feeling the tops of your arms, so the shoulders and the biceps. And feeling your muscles tingling, energy. Perhaps some appreciation. And then the lower part of your arms, including your hands. So feeling this whole area from your elbows to the tips of your fingers. There may be some pain. Often we get arthritis, for instance, in our hands. And so if you notice any discomfort, giving that compassion. Perhaps also taking a moment to just appreciate the wonder of touch. Being able to write or hold things or play instruments or stroke the face of a beloved one. Now moving your awareness to your neck. Your neck where your throat is. If it feels right, you can even put a gentle hand on your neck or your throat. And often we feel tension here. We hold up our heads with our neck all day long. Compassion for our necks, the pains in our necks, the pain in the neck. but perhaps also some appreciation. Again, this is not only allows us to breathe, this is where our voice is. Where we can speak and sing and express. Some gratitude for our necks. Now moving your awareness to the lower part of your face, so your mouth and your lips and your jaw. Just feeling any sensations here. And the inside of your mouth, your tongue. We often hold tensions in our jaw. Some appreciation for the mouth and the jaw. Allows us to eat, to chew, to speak, to sing, to kiss, swallow, to drink, so much. So much to smile. I'm smiling right now. You might be smiling, feeling your own smile. Now feeling your nose, right? Just noticing maybe you're breathing in and out of your nose. You might notice some smells. You might actually be able to feel your nose. You know, maybe there's some judgments here. Maybe you don't like your nose. And if that's the case, see if you can just let that go with some compassion. But also, again, appreciation for the miracle of the nose. Now feeling your eyes, right? Maybe while keeping your eyes closed, just really feel your eyes. You can actually, there's actually a lot of sensation here. Maybe allowing in some appreciation for, again, the miracle of the eyes. Allows us to see. Our eyes are like the gateway of the soul to the world. The window of awareness. And then feeling the inside of the head. It can be a little challenging, but of course our brain is here. Our brain is here, so just take a moment to bring your awareness to your brain, this amazing organ. There are more neurons than there are stars in the entire galaxy. Source of also a lot of suffering, the mind, thoughts. But you know, our little brain is just doing the best it can with the equipment it was given. So holding our brains with love. And then see if you can actually feel the top of your skull, that point of contact between you and the sky, that a little tension in your skull. On the top of your head. You might feel some energy moving here. And now what I would invite you to do is to expand your awareness from the top of your skull through your entire body. Just imagine your awareness like water filling your entire body. So from the top of your skull, through your head, your neck, your chest, your shoulders, your arms, your fingers, your torso, your legs, all the way down to the tips of your toes. So your awareness is expanding and you're holding your entire living, pulsing, breathing body in awareness. Feeling your own being, your own presence. Allowing your heart to open. To be filled with compassion for the pain of living a human life. And appreciation for the joy of living a human life. Allowing your heart to open and love for it all. And then starting to go back to your breathing, maybe taking a few deep breaths in and out, releasing the practice. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. And so just taking this moment to really just allow your experience to be exactly as it is, completely authentically, right? As hopefully most of you know, sometimes when we open our hearts, a lot of pain gets revealed to us. And if that's your experience, just really taking this moment to care for yourself, to ask yourself what you need. And of course, sometimes when we open our hearts, a tremendous amount of joy is revealed to us. And if that's the case, just taking a moment to savor that. Yeah, just allowing yourself to be exactly as you are. Okay.
Wow.
So much.
Wow, Kristin. Thank you so much. As everyone can imagine, I've heard Kristin so many times, but wow, Kristin, that was so beautiful, so embodying. Deepest heartfelt gratitude for your presence here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna go cook my son dinner.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So next we're going to be joined by Dr. Dina Abou Aish. Dina is a dear friend and colleague. She's a dedicated teacher to CMSC Circles of Practice public offering. And if anyone is interested in attending her sessions, she leads almost every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. She's an MSc teacher, but she's also an educator by profession, as well as an activist with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and justice, sorry. Dina, I'm going to give you the mic.
Thank you, Laila. So happy to be here with you all. Hello, friends, and happy International Women's Day. So let's see. I am here in Los Angeles, California, living on the ancestral land of the Tongva peoples. And I'm just so honored to be here with you today to briefly share with you some reflections on inspirational women in my life and in the world, and compassion. So just to start, I'd like to share this quote by Maya Angelou, the acclaimed American poet storyteller, activist. She said, each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it, possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. And so I'd like to tell you a little story, a story about my beloved maternal grandmother, Rokhaya Ahmed Amin. And she lived in the Nile Delta of Egypt in the 1940s when she became a widow. And she had 6 children when her devoted husband suddenly passed. And in those days, it was not common for a woman to have a career beyond raising children. And so my grandmother drew on her fierce compassion. This is big lore in our family history. She drew on her fierce compassion to rise up and become a businesswoman in a place and time when this was almost wholly dominated by men. So she took her faith and her courage, and she motivated herself to protect and provide for her children and herself. And she persevered with fierce compassion, and she succeeded. And she raised 6 young children into phenomenal adults, including my dear late mother, Eklas Lola Amin, who also became a trailblazer in her family, immigrating to the USA from Egypt as a single college-educated professional woman in the early 60s. Before meeting her husband, my father, and creating our family. And I'm eternally and profoundly inspired by the faith and courage and strength of my grandmother and mother, and the fierce compassion that they harnessed and manifested in the world. And so I invite you now to please take a moment to consider and appreciate with deep gratitude all the women in your life, past and present, who have inspired you, role modeled for you, supported you in tender and compassionately fierce ways, who helped you or are helping you now to rise up. So taking this moment of deep gratitude silently within our hearts, in honor and dedication of them. And perhaps if you wish to place the names of some of these honored women in the chat, and we can silently see them and bear witness.
Hmm.
And the poet Linda Hogan wrote, "Suddenly all my ancestors are behind me. Be still," they say. Watch and listen. You are the result of the love of thousands. And so also the author and activist Ta-Nehisi Coates said, "It is important that I tell you their names, that you know that I have never achieved anything alone." Thank you for naming some of your beloved inspirational women in your life. And in closing, and as perhaps more names stream in, I'd like to share with you a brief love letter from the great Vietnamese Zen master, the late Thich Nhat Hanh, entitled "Beloved Mother of All Things." And he wrote, "Dear Mother Earth, I bow my head before you as I look deeply and recognize that you are present in me and that I'm a part of you. I was born from you, and you are always present, offering me everything I need for my nourishment and growth. My mother, my father, and all my ancestors are also your children. We breathe your fresh air. We drink your clear water. We eat your nourishing food. Your herbs heal us when we're sick. You are the mother of all beings. I call you by the human name Mother, and yet I know your mothering nature is more vast and ancient than humankind. We are just one young species of your many children. All the millions of other species who live or have lived on Earth are also your children. You aren't a person, but I know you are not less than a person either. You are a living, breathing being in the form of a planet. Each species has its own language, yet as our mother, you can understand us all. That is why you can hear me today as I open my heart to you and offer you my prayer. So if you will, just taking a brief moment to remember our connection to and honor our oldest ancestor, Mother Earth. Thank you. Thank you, and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Dina. I'm so deeply moved. I took a moment and I hugged myself and felt the connection with all the women that have molded me into who I am today. Thank you so much for taking us to that place. Really appreciate that. Yeah. So next, I'm really once again honored to have yet another friend, another dear colleague, lead a session for us. So next we have Dr. Sydney Spears, and she's a certified mindful self-compassion teacher. She's also the director of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging for the Center of Mindful Self-Compassion and a true rock star, if I might say, in this field of DEIBJ, a real trailblazer. So Sydney's also works part-time at the University of Kansas School of Social Welfare, specializing in teaching diversity, anti-oppression, social justice, and clinical social work courses. Sydney has deep passion for understanding social equity for racialized people and all other underserved populations experiencing systemic injustices. So once again, I'm truly honored to have beloved Sydney here today. Sydney, I'm gonna give the mic to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Laila. Really appreciate that. And Dina as well. That was just so heartful in many ways. So thank you for that too. Well, I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. It is wonderful being with you in this multicultural regional gathering that we have for all of us who identify as a woman, and all those various expressions of being a woman and fluidities around being a woman. So I just appreciate being with you. If you don't know me, I live in the United States. I live in the Midwestern area of the United States in the Kansas City area. So that's where I'm at for now. So what I'd like to share with all of you before offering you to possibly participate in this practice is really thinking about and reflecting on the body again. Kristin started it with the body scan. And I would like to connect the dots from what Kristin shared already in terms of us sensing our bodies and really deepening that sense of embodiment, especially for people who are identified as being gendered in various ways too, and with the often discrimination that many of us have experienced in different ways across other identities too, beyond our gender identity, and all of our intersections of identities too that sometimes intersect in that way. So what I want to share real briefly, there's so much in this, but I really am trying to wrap my own words around it so that I can be as succinct as possible as an introduction, is how important it is for us to be with our bodies. Kristin said a bit about that, and I want to add on to it, especially for those of us in this space who have experienced a lot of oppression, and in particular body oppression, from our gender identity, our gender expression, our fluidity of gender identity in various forms, and other identities that have been marginalized. The body is such a seat. It has been a seat of the false narratives around the world that have been created about gendered bodies in many ways, as well as other intersections of identity. The way this carriage that we have, this container for everything that we experience, the way that this container holds it all, including the discrimination, the biases, the oppression that we experience, especially around gender. And to know that for many of us, those experiences are embodied, that discrimination around gender, the way people will perceive us and systems have perceived us because of the false narratives that have been built about a woman. What a woman should do, shouldn't do, what they should say, shouldn't say, how they should look, all of that. And of course, those are connected to a lot of cultural pieces across regions, which can be varied. It's not all the same. Some are a lot more, should I say, hierarchical in many ways. when it comes to patriarchy and other systems of oppression. But I think for us women, many of us, I'm not saying all, but many of us have been so embedded in being there for other people. And that's a good thing. But the problem is, culturally, sometimes we can neglect ourselves, neglect our own bodies. And then many of us have absorbed and actually internalized a lot of false messages about this carriage that we have, this human body. And where do those messages go? Where do they land, really? We can say, yeah, we think about it like, I hate my arms. I remember when I was in school, when I was in elementary school, I remember this one particular girl, I thought she was a friend, but she would always look at my legs because I was really, really, really super skinny when I was in elementary school. And she would look at my legs and say, oh my God, you have wolf ankles, the animal, wolf ankles. And to this day, I still think about that sometimes. It doesn't bother me as much as it did before, because a lot of my mindfulness-based practices and my self-compassion practice has certainly helped it, and other work that I've done. But it was really internalized. It was deep. And I just saying wolf ankles, because that made me feel like there's something wrong with me. I'm not fitting in. This is not ideal. Other people are seeing things about my body that's not right, including all of what I have experienced around skin color in particular. That's huge right there. But my point is, maybe for us to reflect upon some of those false narratives that we have all absorbed and internalized and learned. We got to remember that we learned them. We learned them, and they're not true. It's because systems of oppression around the world and different cultures and regions have created those false narratives. And then those false narratives become infused in institutions and in systems. And then we all get conditioned. Everybody in that region gets conditioned, and they learn, oh yeah, so that's the way, people who are gendered should be. And if they're not that ideal, if they're not sometimes perfect, and by me being an American, I feel like I have experienced a lot around bodies being perfect, especially for people who identify as a woman in its various fluidities and its various expressions. A lot about perfection. Can't have this on your face. Your arms are too long, too short, too whatever, your size, your shape, color, textures, spots on your skin, the largest organ we have on our bodies. It runs rampant, and how it is really expressed, at least from my experience of being in the United States, in the media all the time, and still to this day. And at times, even though I know I don't really have wolf ankles, I can see certain images, and sometimes I still can feel like I may not have wolf ankles, but the messages I'm getting from social media in general, and other institutions is, yeah, there's still something wrong with you. And so I'm offering this particular practice, and it's a little different too, because it is very, very body-based. And it's a way for us to maybe cultivate more of an embodied liberatory freedom sense of our truth about our bodies. And for us to be more aware of how we have absorbed and learned. Remember, we came in as a blank slate as a baby. We didn't come in with those ideas about our bodies. Our arms are too this, our legs are that. I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I don't like the color of my skin, my hair, oh my God, it's too much. We didn't come in with that. We absorbed that. And how might we still be holding, some of us, those messages that were not produced by us, but we ended up internalizing them and repeating them and sustaining them. And what we want to do, or the invitation is to be more aware of those messages about our bodies, because there's just a plethora of bodies that are disabled in various forms, bodies that are older in various forms, bodies that are younger, bodies that have features that some people have not considered, or I should say some systems, excuse me, have not considered as the ideal, the norm, the beautiful, the attractive, all of that. And how those messages get repeated. So we need to be aware and then learn to decolonize, dismantle, deconstruct through practices, holding it with self-compassion, tender and fierce self-compassion, because we need both. We need both for that care system that is really the force, the care force, the caring force of both. Because some of us don't realize that we're really sustaining that. We're sustaining those systemic views. We may not mean to do it, but we end up sustaining it anyway. We didn't create it, but we absorbed it. And sometimes we're stuck in not knowing how to deconstruct that, to think about how that has impacted us as well. This is the container for everything. It's not just external, it's also internal. And that right there, that internal reality, that internal story of liberation, that's what we could work with. We can work with that. We can learn to dismantle that false narrative from systems, institutions, regions, and then start to, over time, held in self-compassion, construct and design and create our own story, because that story is really in here. It's in our hearts and souls about the truth of our arms, of our legs, of our size, of our shape, of our imperfections, of our color, of our hair, of our appearance, of whether we're beautiful or not, whether we're too old, our disabilities, and other things too, and our age. So I would like to invite you to participate in this practice. It is a little different. And I do want to say, as Kristin already mentioned, feel free to do whatever you need. Might notice if you start to open or close. And if you start to close during this practice at any time, know that you can give yourself what you need. Whether it is to turn your screen off at any time, to move your body. Maybe you need to focus on something in your environment that's more pleasant or more neutral. Soothing, supportive touch, or whatever you might need in that moment, know that you can do that. This particular practice is also an invitation to participate in some very simple movements, helping us connect to our bodies, because part of what's going to help in that deconstructing, decolonizing of our false narratives that we have, those stories that we have internalized, and we will repeat many times in our own thinking, feeling, experiencing, want you to know that you can just, I'm sorry, I got so into this, I just lost my train of thought, just being totally present and transparent. What I wanted to say is you can, because it does involve some simple movements, you can not do the movements. You have choices, which that's a lot of what we're talking about, bringing in more choice, voice, space, and agency and empowerment for us. So know that you can practice that as well. Or if you start to move, because these movements, the invitation of these movements is really simple, know that you can pause, you can change it, you can do something else. So it's choices all along the journey if you choose to participate in this practice. And there's a little bit of imagery, just a little bit of imagery. And some people have difficulty with imagery, and that's okay too. If it's accessible, feel free to participate in the imagery. If it is not, that's all right. There's absolutely no judgment whatsoever. So if you would like, Feel free to bring your body to a particular place, space, position, posture that you feel like is most self-compassionate for you. So you could choose to stand, you could choose to lie down, you could choose to sit. It's your choice. And you're also welcome to maybe tune into your eyes, speaking of body and body sensations and connecting to our bodies, maybe just noticing instead of doing what we might typically do, what is it that your eyes might need in this present moment? Do they need to be open a bit? Do they need to be lowered, your gaze lowered, maybe closed? Whatever it is. It's okay. And now maybe exploring and listening to, speaking of voice and choice and agency, maybe listening to our own bodies, if that is accessible to you. Just listening to our bodies through sensation, through movement, because that can also help us guide the truth of who we are, the truth of our bodies, held with self-compassion. So if you'd like, you're welcome to perhaps lift your chin upward toward the ceiling to your own distance, and maybe listening to your body of when your body says, stop right there. Perhaps guiding that movement, if you're doing it, not so much from your mind, but maybe from sensing and listening to that softer voice of your body to make the choice and to move to your own sense of body wisdom. And if you want to, you could also slowly lower your chin downward toward your collarbone at your own pace, your own way. And again, maybe noticing when your body senses that's as far as I'd like to go, or maybe not at all. Maybe I don't want to do that movement because I'm being protective of the body. And then if you like, you might lift your chin back up if you were participating in this movement. And another possibility was sensing our bodies, maybe being with the sensation, allowing the sensation to guide this movement, if you'd like to participate in it, would be to turn your chin towards your right or your left shoulder and just notice possibly the voice of your body in that guidance of how far you might turn your head. And if you want to, you might turn your head in the opposite direction towards your other shoulder at your own speed, guiding by your body's wisdom. What are you feeling? What are you sensing? And then in your own time, perhaps bringing your head back to center, whatever center means for you. And you might pause to even notice, how do I feel centered? Or maybe even grounded in the posture that you may be experiencing right now. How do I know that sensation of centeredness and groundedness? Do I feel it? And if not, that's all right. It's just an exploration. And then one more movement could be to lean your upper body, if you want to, lean your upper body forward towards your legs or toward the floor or the ground. And maybe again, allow your body wisdom to do the movement, the leading. and the distance of your movement. And in your own time, you might lift back up again, allowing possibly your body to take charge and come back to center and your own version of groundedness, whatever that might be for you in this present moment. And from here, you are welcome to perhaps call to your awareness. This is truly a choice. Everything's a choice. But call to your awareness some particular learned body oppressive story or thought that you may experience in the past, could be now, whenever. But just like I mentioned my experience of my skin color, one girl saying that I had wolf ankles and how that impacted me. So if there's anything that you would like to call to mind, holding that with tender compassion, feel free to do that in this moment. Could be around your physical ability, your age, your imperfections of your body, which again, imperfections are normal. The false story is they're not. Changes in your body, size, weight, height, appearance, gender expression, physical features, chronic health issues, chronic pain, something else. And if you have chosen a particular learned body oppression story or thought that you have experienced in your life, you might notice whether you can locate that, just holding that in your awareness in this moment. Somewhere in your body, you may or may not be able to notice that. Or maybe any sensations, just calling that up to your awareness. Like me calling mine up to wolf ankles, and where I can feel that in my body. Any tension, maybe turning away from calling that to mind, which is not a judgment, it's just awareness. Any urges. And maybe if there's any feelings or emotions that are attached to a particular learned body oppression story that you may have experienced, knowing that it wasn't you that created it, it was what you absorbed. And you are not alone if you have experienced these stories about the preciousness of our bodies, or gendered bodies, in so many different gendered ways. And you are welcome to sense how your learned body expression story, if you have one in your awareness, maybe has shaped you, shaped your sense of self and the world around you. They do have impact for most of us. And you're welcome to perhaps bring any soothing or supportive touch to this particular practice, or anything else that you may need, that your body may need. Our bodies have been holding a lot of stories, false stories. And if our bodies could talk to us, what might they say? The truth of our bodies. What might they say to us about those false learned stories in relationship to our bodies, internally and externally, our features, our size, our weight, our age, our disability, skin color, our gender expression? What might your compassionate body say to you? And with the awareness that these false stories have been internalized and learned by many of us from history, from cultures, from interpersonal interactions, sometimes from even people that we love. That may be the signal that we could practice to dismantle and to release body shaming. We may not be able to change everything out there in the world and what people say about our bodies. But we can take our bodies back internally. There lies our strength. We can create the truth of our stories about our bodies and release and create even a boundary between the external story that is false, harmful, and hurtful, demeaning often, devaluing often, confining often, constricting, and move to our own sense of internal liberation. So if you want to, you're welcome to maybe take just a brief moment or two and notice what you might be experiencing in your body in regards to taking your body back. It's yours. It's not theirs. Taking your own sense of voice, choice, and empowerment. And perhaps showing that through your breath, through soothing touch, maybe through fierce self-compassion, providing, protecting your truth about your body, motivating your body, you, to stand up for your truth and allow and open up your awareness for all that wisdom that you have within. Maybe just listening to it a little deeper as a guide. You can also, if anyone's interested, you're welcome to even bring in a particular body posture or maybe a gesture, standing, seated. That's another option of actually opening up your body to your truth and showing it, being proud of it. Even if you don't totally believe something, it's okay. Maybe just sensing the energy in your body of your own internal, unique strength, abilities, courage to support your own sense of self-advocacy, to stand, to rise, even when you fall, but to know that you can get back. Your body is there to support you. Bringing in that new story about body parts, how bodies look, whether they can move, they can't move, whether they're young, they're old. To know that your bodies are waiting for you to rise with resiliency for your own internal liberation, despite what the external world has said about your body that holds everything that you experience in this life. Supporting your voice, perhaps supporting your choice, your choices. Liberation is about voice, amplifying voice and choice and wisdom. And before we end this practice, you're welcome to bring in a little bit of imagination. Imagination with some possible joy, maybe some possible openness, maybe expansion as opposed to contraction. We're just exploring it. And one possibility could be, if you want to explore this, is just to imagine within your being, the being of your body, with all that wisdom that's there, imagine a picture frame. Could be rectangular, could be round, it could be triangular, a hexagon, or just an irregular shape. Maybe your picture, your frame, the frame that you feel like you connect to, you resonate with. You have choices. And you could not do this too. And that's okay. So if you would like to choose a frame for your own picture, feel free to either take your hands in real time, if you want to do that as one option, and actually go around the edges of your frame like you are actually holding it out here in the air, or it could be within your own imagination. Just around the edges of that rectangular frame, like you can feel it, or the round frame, or the irregular frame, whatever was your choice. And then maybe bringing in the color of compassion for you. What color comes to your being when you may be holding compassion? What color might represent that? And almost like finger painting, hand painting, you could hold this in your awareness of filling in that particular picture frame with your color in your mind, or maybe with your hands right now in real time, if you'd like. Like just painting in compassion, the color of compassion. Your way, your option, your voice, your choice. There's no constriction, no judgment. And if you were participating in imagining or either actually painting in compassion in your frame, in your picture frame, out in the air, you're welcome to bring that picture of your truth and your story closer to your body, if it's not there already. Your design, not anybody else's. Amplifying possibly your voice, your choices, and your wisdom, your inner body wisdom. Held in self-compassion always. Maybe holding your truth, your true story about your body, about your features, your size, your weight, your hair, your gender expression, your disability, and anything else, your color, your imperfections of your body. So you're welcome as we end to maybe give yourself what you need in this practice of cultivating embodied, liberatory truth. And I'd like to end by sharing a couple of very brief poems. The first one was actually shared by two of my teachers, Natalie and Kristin, in the Fierce Self-Compassion class. And it's called Remember by Bridget Anna McNeil. Remember who you are, not the shape others have put on you, not the story they handed you, not the lies or needs that were pressed into your psyche. Not even your own imagined ideas of what you should be, but the real you. The wild, innate you that is breathing under all those should-bes, all those untruths. Remember the feel of it, the shape of it. Let it inhabit you. Let it inhabit you. Like golden weeds, rewilding the concrete. Remember. And lastly, the second poem by Narian Wahid. And I said to my body softly, I want to be your friend. My body took a long breath and replied, I have been waiting my whole life for this. Welcome home.
Thank you so much, Sydney. Thank you so much. Deep bow. It was just a beautiful, beautiful practice. I can feel your heart song coming through the practice. I especially loved when you said supporting your voice, supporting your choice and wisdom, painting in the color of compassion. Oh, that really spoke to me. Deep gratitude. So I just want to say we will take a 15-minute break now. I know that some of you have been sitting for at least a couple of hours. So we'll take a 15-minute break and come back at the top of the hour. And so please take care of your bodies, get some nourishment, whatever feels right. Also, I wanted to say that, Circles of Practice Public Offering is run by volunteers. And in fact, these three lovely teachers tonight are also volunteers. As you may know, Center for Mindful Self-Compassion is a nonprofit organization. So if anyone would like to donate, I'm going to put a link in the chat box. So please feel free to do that. Thank you. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. We will be starting our third and last session for the evening. So I'm going to just spotlight Angelike here.
It's Angelike, which I know it's such a difficult name.
I know. Thank you so much. So we've got Angelike Dexter coming up next. So I'll tell you a little bit about her. She's just this amazing ball of sunshine here. So Angelike loves sharing mindfulness, compassion, and is dedicated to mindful self-compassion, the program for both adults and teens, teaches to people of all ages. She's also been trained by Susan Kaiser Greenland and back in 2013. So she, oh gosh, there's so much to say about her, but through so many of her trainings and journeys on this pathway of mindfulness, as well as mindful self-compassion, she has worked with individuals, families, helping parents create intentional vision around the mindful and heartfelt strategies. She has trained extensively in trauma-informed mindfulness practices, as well as diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And in particular, in relation to holding mindfulness, self-compassion group spaces. She is one of our beloved teachers in circles of practice, public offering. She usually teaches Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific. If anyone would like to join, these are free sessions. And so if you have not experienced her before, you are totally in for a treat. But you know, that's not just what she has done. She's also a former attorney. A lot in her background. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to give the mic off to her right now.
Oh, thank you so much, Laila. And I hope she hasn't oversold me. So we'll see here. But Laila, also, thank you so much for all you do, for creating this retreat, for creating the circles of practice, for holding all of us. Thank you to Mary. I don't know if she's here, for helping all the behind the scenes work. Thank you so much. Thank you to Dina for those, always knitting everything together. Of course, Kristin, and I'm going to say a special thank you to Sydney in just a second. And then I want to say thank you to all you beautiful friends, new and old. I'm looking here and I'm kind of like, this is your life. I'm watching all these people come in. And then of course we have these open circles of practice where you get to join our community at any time. And I hope you know that us teachers think it's such an honor and privilege to join together every time with people willing to come practice this new radical way of being, actually showing up for yourself as you would a friend. And it helps to have the strength of community to practice that together. So anyway, that was my little spiel. And I did want to thank Sydney so much for that really healing and liberating practice. For those of you who weren't able to join this past session, Sydney was really, as women, I think share the lion's share of the emotional burdens of the planet and the emotional labor of the planet. And part of that is just even inhabiting a body with the stories other people tell about it, the stories we tell ourselves about it. And so that was just a really healing practice. Sydney, thank you. And it kind of narrows our perceptual field when we're caught up in these stories and the burdens and the labors. So I kind of wanted to focus more on what we can do to buoy ourselves, how we can feel innerly resourced, tap in the things that we already have. And I just wanted to float this first idea, which is that paying attention is a kind of love. So you may want to start by thinking, oh, if I'm really narrowing in on these negative stories or these difficult moments, right? And of course, I'll talk in a minute about why our brain does that, but we're loving those. So maybe what would I like to love a little more? What would I like to pay attention to? And then, of course, the lovely teacher, Becky Bailey, says, what I focus on, I get more of. And I just think that's such a helpful frame. What am I focusing on? What am I paying attention to? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the happiness aspect and some ways we can practice paying attention to happiness, focusing on happiness. Not in a toxic positivity way, but in a way to actually balance out our perceptual field. When we just focus on the negative, it really gives us a skewed perspective. So in mindful self-compassion, we talk so much about the 3 causes of happiness are savoring and gratitude and self-appreciation. And I think we'll have time to do a little bit of touch of each. And one thing to just start with is sometimes, the happiness in the compassion schools of Buddhism, there are these beautiful wishes for people. And 2 of them start by saying, may all beings have happiness and the causes have happiness. May all beings be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. And those are really big, aspirational, beautiful wishes. But did you guys notice the causes of in there? Sometimes we focus so much on the happiness or the sorrow, and we forget to look at what is a cause of happiness. How can I sow some seeds of happiness, little by little here and here? Or what is my attention going to? Is that a cause of sorrow? Am I paying a lot of attention to something that's going to grow into that? So, little seeds, little ways, paying attention in little ways to some happiness. And so I thought maybe we could start by re-arriving in the moment and taking a moment to just savor something that's going to be the end of this little arriving. It's going to be maybe 5 minutes. So taking a moment, maybe asking your body what it needs. Some of you have been sitting here for a couple hours. Oh, you might want to stretch and move. Inviting some, we're all in our own spaces. I'm on spotlight, so, I look funny, but you guys can do a lot of movement, hands, mouth. And then just coming in your own good time to a position that honors your beautiful human body that's shown up right here, a dignified, loving position. That can be sitting, standing, laying down, walking, whatever you need right now. Maybe taking a moment to feel into some grounding, feeling your feet on the floor if that's available. Your body in your seat. And maybe even with a couple longer, slower breaths. Just beginning to let everything settle down to your feet, whatever's coming in the room with you. Begin to ground and settle. And there's a couple quintessential mindful self-compassion questions. And the first one is, how is it for me right now? So taking a moment, scanning your inner terrain, how is it for me right now? How is it in my brain, my body, my heart? And the beautiful thing about self-compassion is all of you is welcome here. So just making a lot of space for whatever's arriving, giving things a lot of room. And then the second question of mindful self-compassion, really the essential question, what do I need right now? You might want to put a hand on your heart or somewhere else soothing or supportive, cupping your face in your hands, giving yourself a hug. Softening your heart to yourself. Maybe there's some kind words you might need to hear. Maybe you'd like to savor a good moment. Sometimes we forget. We can pull up good moments and savor them. So I invite you to just pull up a good moment from the last few days. It doesn't have to be anything big. A funny text from a friend, petting your dog, a good cup of coffee, the checker who smiled at you at the grocery store. Just bringing up a small, good moment and feeling into it with all your senses. What was a light like when you were in this moment? What did it smell like? What did it feel like? Really letting it register with your nervous system, wallowing in it, savoring it, really enjoying that good moment. And maybe taking another moment to ask yourself, how is it for me right now? And noticing if dropping into that good moment made things a little easier, a little lighter, a little more enjoyable. And maybe one more time, feeling your feet on the floor, your body in your seat, and taking a few longer, slower breaths. And in your own good time, whenever you're ready, maybe again, stretching a little, gently moving. And I know this is a silent retreat, but maybe just by a show of hands, were people able to call up a good moment and feel into that? And how was that in your nervous system, right? Were you able to sort of tap into that? Right? Talk about a cause of happiness you don't have to go too far out of your way for. A couple times a day. Stop. Oh my gosh, that was a good cup of coffee. Oh, that was a funny joke. That was a cute baby. That's a warm ray of sunshine. Stop, let yourself absorb it, let it register. And that's something you can actually pull up as a resource, right? Just a little savoring. Remember, savoring is mindfulness of good things. Letting yourself absorb it, linger, letting it go then when it's time, and that's time, right? We get to practice that. And I wanted to start with that savoring the good because it's, pretty, it's not very challenging for most of us. But it does kind of remind us of how our brain has that natural negativity bias, right? That we're so fixated on the things we think are problems, things that need fixing. It really narrows our perspective. And so the other two, remember I said, were gratitude and self-appreciation that really help open our perspective up. But I want you to notice even if I say, okay, we're going to do a little self-appreciation, how that natural negativity bias for a lot of us already starts to say, ooh, self-appreciation. Wow. Yeah, I have a lot around that. I don't know if I can do that. So first, I just wanted to really acknowledge that, right? It's hard for us. It's hard for us to really savor good things about ourselves. But we all have them, right? You, like all other human beings on this planet, have some good things too. So it helps us open our perspective about ourselves. And, the great example is always, if I was going to give you 100 compliments today, 100 compliments, really heartfelt compliments. And I said, but there's one little thing you need to work on. What are you going to remember tonight? And then 6 weeks from now and 6 months from now, I'm seeing people nod, right? Right? Oh, right. I gave you 100 heartfelt compliments and your brain dumps them. And you're going to remember, one little thing you might need to work on, maybe for the rest of your life. Like Sydney said, right? Pulling up, some comment someone made, but she still carries that with her, right? So these words are powerful. So to broaden our perspective, we need to acknowledge these things about ourselves are true too. There's good stuff about us, and we can appreciate them, acknowledge them. We use these 3 components of mindful self-compassion. The self-kindness is actually, right, enjoying the good stuff about ourselves. That's kind. The common humanities, right? Us too, of course. Like all people, we too, each of us have some good qualities and can appreciate them. And then the mindfulness is actually noticing them, acknowledging them, leaning in. And then, of course, it's such a beautiful gratitude practice also to acknowledge all the beings and moments and experiences that have helped us develop those good qualities. We are all interdependent. We, are shaped and supported and held by so many beings in so many ways, and they help you develop your good qualities too. So it's a way of honoring them when we honor our own good qualities. But, it's hard to get over. It's a habitual way of thinking. We have very deep neural pathways that we've created saying, there's nothing good about me. There's nothing good about me. There's nothing, or not that, or that. But, right, we are very neuroplastic. So with practice, with time, we just practice again and again. And all of a sudden, wow, I've been practicing and now I find it really easy to appreciate my good qualities. People always tell me it's helpful to give a couple examples of things people like about themselves, because some of us get stuck right at the very beginning, right? So maybe this isn't all the things. And again, you're not saying 100% of the time or always or with all people, but people, sometimes think of themselves as a good friend or loyal, dependable, funny, a good cook, having a green thumb, resilient, stylish, organized, good in an emergency, creative, intuitive, sensitive. So it keeps going, but that's just to sort of get your brain going. But again, like I said, that third mindful self-compassion question, we said, how is it for me? What do I need? And what gets in the way? This might be an exercise where you're like, oh, I've got some things getting in the way of me opening up. So at any point, that backdraft comes up, there's a big, a lot of emotion. Remember, you can feel your feet on the floor, open your eyes, stand up, walk around, take a break, care for yourself. I mean, that's always the practice that we're doing here, is taking care of yourself, knowing how it is for you and knowing what you need. So however you do that, that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So if you'd like, though, we are going to do a little self-appreciation practice. And again, you might even notice if there's some tension in the body, heart, mind coming up around that. So you can again invite some movement. Maybe grounding again, feet on the floor, body in your seat. Hands in your lap. Maybe taking again a few longer, slower breaths. Really arriving in your body. As with all compassion practices, it helps to have a stable container. That's your body. So feeling into some stability and support, held by the floor and furniture. But once you feel into some stability, then letting things soften a little. So you're not rigid. You might want to soften your eyes, your mouth, your throat. Soften your shoulders, your heart. Abdomen, knees, feet. Maybe just taking a few breaths, letting things soften, be a little easier. Might want to put a hand on your heart. Or somewhere else soothing, supportive. Letting that warmth radiate in your body, reminding you that, yeah, this one too is worthy of love and affection. You can always honor closing if you need to close at any time. But if you're feeling curious about opening, you could soften your heart a little, warming your heart, almost letting your heart open like a blossom to the sun. And that sun's your own inner radiance, your own inner brilliance. like all human beings, you too have a brilliant, radiant heart. You can just stay here. If this is what you'd like to do, feeling stable and relaxed, just feeling into being here, warming your heart. But also inviting you, if you'd like, to take a moment to think about 3 or 4 things that you appreciate about yourself. Sometimes the first couple that come to mind are a little superficial, or they're other people's views of us, but maybe beginning to drop under that. See if you can open down to a deep, deep down you really, really like about yourself. It's a completely private exploration. Only in your own mind and heart. And if you're experiencing any uneasiness in this practice, of course you are. That's entirely natural. We're not in the habit of savoring good things about ourselves. We've received messages not to savor good things about ourselves. But at any point you need, you can stop and refresh. Refresh. Coming back to your body, giving things a lot of space, softening. Or taking a break if you need. And in your own good time, then coming back to the 3 or 4 things that you really appreciate about yourself. Remembering you're not saying you always show these good qualities or that you're better than others, just acknowledging that these things too are true. And if you're still having a hard time finding a good quality, could I suggest using your curiosity about being a good friend to yourself? Your self-compassion journey is a good quality in and of itself. And then begin to focus on one quality in particular, one that you appreciate, one you'd like to explore a little more. So you might want to bring that quality to mind, saying it a few times to yourself in a sweet voice. And begin to feel into that quality. Where does it show up for you? In your mind, in your body, in your heart. Just taking a few moments to really explore this good quality, feeling into it, where it shows up for you. Getting really curious. And if you like, beginning to consider if there are any people or moments or experiences in your life that have helped you develop this quality, helped you cultivate this good quality. Maybe friends, parents, teachers, authors of books, characters in movies, ancestors. Who and what has had an impact, helped you develop, cultivate this quality? So who, what experiences, what beings, human or otherwise, have helped you develop this quality? And as beings, moments, memories begin to come in your mind, spending a moment, linger with it, savor that. If a teacher comes to your mind in whatever way they've shown up, linger with them. Maybe say thank you. Thank you. And then once you've savored that moment, you can move to the next, just allowing a moment or a teacher, a friend, an experience, something that's helped you develop this good quality come to mind. Linger with it. Feel into it. And then say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You may even want to begin to gather all these benefactors. You know, all these good friends and teachers and moments and experience that have helped you cultivate this good quality. You gather them together, almost like a sea of benefactors or a good cloud of support. You're honoring the sea of benefactors who've helped you in all these ways, big and small, throughout your life, cultivating this good quality, this thing you really deeply like about yourself. Feeling into this interdependent connection. You may want to feel the good energy radiating from them. You know, they would be so happy and appreciative of the fact that you've brought this quality into your life, you've nurtured it, you've cultivated it. So taking that in. And then again, if it feels right, saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You may even want to expand that awareness and thank you of benefactors to all the people on this call. We can all include each other in the sea of benefactors now, wishing each other well, sending good energy. You might want to take a moment to soak that in. And maybe say thank you. Thank you. Before we end this meditation, maybe taking a few moments to reflect back on the different parts. And again, savoring a few moments or experiences, a couple connections. What was the quality you liked about yourself? Who were beings who helped you cultivate that? Just really savoring them for one more time, letting them resonate in your nervous system. So that they can be a resource, something you could call up when that quality is needed. Taking this last moment to savor any good feelings and connections if they've been here. And taking a moment of self-compassion for any challenges that may have come up during this meditation. Taking a moment to offer yourself what you need. And then letting all the meditation instructions fade in the background, letting the meditation be just what it was, letting this moment be just as it is, and letting yourself be just as you are. Sitting here in your own good company for just a few moments. And in your own good time, when it feels right, maybe softening, stretching again, offering your body what it needs. Taking a few notes if there was something you wanted to remember. And I'm going to read this poem, Love After Love by Derek Walcott. I think it's so sweet. He says, the time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You'll love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who's loved you all your life, whom you've ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror, sit and feast on your life. And so I think that's really the key, right? When we say the causes of happiness, feast on your life. You know, we talked at the beginning to circle back, savoring some good small moments, giving yourself the opportunity to let them register, notice them, feel into them. Oh, right, this too. I've had all these challenging things, and this too. That was a great cup of coffee. That was a happy baby. That was, you know, a sweet puppy. And then gratitude, of course. You know, just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. In the practice itself, you don't even need to do it attached to anything else. If you tried that a few times a day, it really opens the heart. But then some self-appreciation, which, you know, again, can be a little tricky. But it gives you a real, you know, starts to open up your perspective about what's really, really here, which is all those things. And I'm going to end with this poem that Laila introduced me to because I love it so much. It's, and we have to close with a woman's words, right? Dear Human by Courtney A. Walsh. And she says, Dear Human, you've got it all wrong. You didn't come here to master unconditional love. That's where you came from, and that's where you'll return. You came here to learn personal love, universal love, messy love, sweaty love, crazy love, broken love, whole love, infused with divinity, lived through the grace of stumbling, lived through the grace of stumbling, demonstrated through the beauty of messing up often. Often. You didn't come here to be perfect. You already are. You already are. You came here to be gorgeously human, flawed and fabulous, and then to rise again into remembering. But unconditional love, stop telling that story. Love in truth doesn't need any other adjectives. It doesn't require modifiers. It doesn't require the condition of perfection. It only asks that you show up and do your best, that you stay present and feel fully, that you shine and fly and laugh and cry and hurt and heal and fall and fall and fall and fall and fall and get back up again and get back up again and get back up again and play and work and live and die as you.
Western firms and the fact that now it will struggle.
It's enough. It's plenty. And I can't think of a better message to receive on International Women's Day, and I hope you all agree. It was so wonderful to be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful and such a lovely return to us, return to that one that needs appreciation. Like you said, often it's so much harder for us to appreciate ourselves. So thank you so much for that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take just a few minutes and we're going to close out the retreat with another amazing teacher. So we have here Dr. Patricia Isis. Patricia is also a wonderful teacher in Circles of Practice Public Offering. She works in expressive therapies with an emphasis on art therapy, and has been, dedicated to mindful self-compassion since 2016. So I'm going to give the mic off to Patricia as she closes the retreat.
Thank you so much, Laila. Thank you to everyone behind this incredibly valuable opportunity and all of you that have brought yourselves here and shown up, which is in itself a radical act of self-compassion. And so I thought we would start with a pause so that you can sit with yourself, collect yourself, congratulate yourself for showing up, for bringing yourself here. How does that feel inside? Notice. And then I'd like to share this quote by Byron Katie, who's the author of several books, one very popular one called Loving What Is. I thought this would be a lovely way to wrap up this event. And certainly what we just heard so graciously about self-appreciation. And I would like to invite you to notice those qualities that if in fact you had trouble finding that you appreciate, maybe those that you admire in others. Because when you admire qualities in others, that's because they're in you already. And if you can just notice one as we've been meditating on this and reflecting on this, perhaps use whatever sense is easiest for you to go to really connect if what you see or what you hear, what you smell or taste or feel from this quality and your relationship to it. That's available to you 24/7, simply by pausing, checking in, taking inventory, noticing, what can I rely on in myself that I've already been relying on, that I was so graciously gifted with? We all have them. We forget very easily. And this is a day of empowerment to celebrate every day with this power that we all possess in our own unique ways. And so I'd like to offer a poem by Nikita Gill to summarize this experience. It's called Take This as Your Sign. When will you stop being afraid of everything you can be? When will you stop being afraid of everything you can be? I have never seen the sky nor the earth wear their flaws like they are apologies. Instead, they defiantly present them as their truth. Take it or leave it. It is up to you. When will you realize that you can still grow forests from the scorched earth of your soul? Remind yourself that the moon, which is quite full right now, incidentally, even with her scars, is still the fairest of them all, at least on this side of the hemisphere. It's the light she gives to the world that matters in the end, the calm of her heart. When will you understand that those broken parts of you have learned how to sing more elegant songs than the loveliest of songbirds? Everything around you is asking you to set yourself free. Everything around you is asking you to set yourself free. Become everything that you do not think you can be. Become everything that you do not think you can be. Notice how that feels as you take in the lines of this powerful poem, allowing yourself the space to be curious and hospitable inside and outside. As Byron Katie wrote, it's not your job to like me, it's mine. And I invite you to let this gorgeous experience of self-appreciation and wonder and inquiry guide you beyond this moment in your daily life, to utilize it, as was spoken, as a resource or several resources, thanking and loving what is. What is you here and now? There's no way it can hurt you ever. It's just that we forget, especially in the throes of adversity, because of the nature of the human mind. And that's why this practice is so incredibly valuable. Moment to moment. So with that, big bow to all of you, to all of us, to our connection, to the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion, to our teachers, our friends, our family, everyone who's touched you in such a deep and precious way. Thank you so much for your practice.
Thank you so much, Patricia. That was really beautiful. What I want to do before we end, before we end, I'd like to thank a few really, really endearing teachers. So as I mentioned at the start, this is a volunteer-run program. CMSC Circles of Practice public offering, 100% run by volunteers. And some of these amazing volunteers are here tonight. So I just like to take a moment and spotlight them. If we can just say a little extra thank you. I'm just going to add. And Dina, I know you're not on video, but if you're able to come on, that would be great. So thank you for Sydney. Sydney was one of our first BIPOC teachers and one of the early teachers. So thank you for that. Thank you, Anna, who has been teaching, I think, a lot of Fridays, Saturdays, and other nights. And thank you, Dina, who's been teaching a lot of Thursdays, most Thursday evenings, as well as our BIPOC sessions. And thank you, Patricia, who's been teaching so many Tuesdays. Also, I think right from the beginning. Angelike. I butcher her name every time, and I'm so sorry. Who also very dedicated and teaches Wednesdays. So, I just want to, share that my work here, my passion with Circles of Practice is made so much easier by these lovely human beings. So just, if we can just take a moment and just breathe in some compassion for all their hard work. And to all those that are not here today, really want to thank everyone. And then I want to thank you all, lovely women, for being here, whether you stayed the entire 3 hours or 30 minutes. Really appreciate all of us collectively holding space for everybody. That really is such an empowering act. It's an act of fierceness, as well as an act of tenderness. And then I want to go back to those that maybe have not attended Circles of Practice public offering and invite you. If you would like to attend, they are free sessions. And I'm going to once again put it in the chat where you can register. Also, if anyone is empowered to donate, please feel free to donate on that link. That will really help to provide more resources to those, especially that are not able to purchase workshops and courses and all sorts of programs. So thank you for that. Also, now I want to invite you, if anyone would like to unmute, say thank you as we end our session, please feel free to do that. Bye, everyone. Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Take good
everyone.
care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, teachers.
Bye.
Be
Bye.
well.
Be safe.
Take
Be
care.
well.
Many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Take
You guys
care.
are so awesome. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Laila.
Thank you, Laila. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you,
Welcome.
Laila.
Mm.
Thank you, everyone. We wouldn't be here without you guys.
Be well, friends.
Oh, you as well. Hmm.